Alright, in this video we're going to look at what I call the infinite cycle. If you're familiar with some launchers, you can do a setting in the launcher where you can do like an infinite scroll, and basically if you scroll from one end of your wallpaper to the other end and then you keep on scrolling in that same direction, it'll cycle back to the beginning. Whereas a way we can kind of do that without scrolling, but we can toggle. And here's what I got here. Let me change one thing real quick just so I can touch my cell phone too. Down here at the bottom, this is going to go, if I press this button, notice the information goes to the right and I have something that flies in from the left. Let me do that again. So now we have a yellow one. The yellow came in and is sliding in from the left, going to the right, and as you can see, that yellow information was also doing the same thing. Let's do it one more time. There's the blue. And I'm going to just go through this a couple of times, and as you can see, everything is coming in from the left, sliding to the right. And notice the colors are starting to repeat themselves. See what I'm saying? Alright, now what about this? Let's make it go the other way. So I'm going to go this way now. There's the blue, and now you can see the animations are coming in from the right and they're sliding to the left. So I'm going to do that again. As you can see, everything is coming in from the right and sliding to the left. I hope that makes sense. So how can we accomplish this? A KLWP user they were having success with going in one direction, but when they were going back, they couldn't get it to work. Well, here's what you got to do. We got a couple of coding things that we have to figure out, and we have to depend on a couple of if conditions and or conditions and conditions. I think some ands do apply here as well. It's funny though, because I was trying to do this probably a year ago, or maybe not quite a year, but I've been using KLWP for about a year and a couple of months or whatever, and I remember I was trying to do this a while back, and just by messing with this app so much, I've figured out a few more things through trial and error, and especially when somebody requests something to be done, I dive into it a little bit deeper. I can't figure out everything, but I'm happy that I could get this done and provide it to you. So here we go. The first things first, I just have some words down here. The globals, let's go ahead and have a look at those. I've just got 4 colors. Of course, you might want these things to be, weather, music, RSS or whatever. And then up here you can have some type of separate group that slides in or however you want it to animate in. And then I have just some font, nothing too crazy there. Now these are the 2 globals that you will need to accomplish this. You need 2 list globals, one of them called Go, and inside of there basically I have the 4 pieces, the 4 colors that you could see. So that's my list global, and then I have a switch because I have a left and a right. I don't know if you noticed a few minutes ago, but I'll show you now. If I press this word right here is going to change to left because I'm pressing the left button. Now if I come over here and press this one, it's going to change to right because I'm pressing the right button. So that's kind of how I have that animating. Now let me write down a few things over here. So I'm going to write down R for red. What comes next? If I press the right, so we got yellow. Well, yellow's actually on this side of it because I was pressing the right. What's going to be the next one that comes in from the left sliding right? Then it's going to be blue. And then we have a green. And this cycle is going to repeat itself because watch if I press right again. We're going to go right back to that red. So this is the pattern that I have going on here. RGBY, so RGBY, RGBY. Now, so right now we're on red. If I press the left button, since I'm on red, I should see a green come in from the right, but it's sliding to the left. I hope you see the effect I'm trying to get here. So if I press this, everything's going to slide to the left. Boom, as you can see right there. Alright, so there's my G, there's my B, there's my Y, and now we should be resetting R, G, B, and Y. And it goes the same both ways. So there's 2 switches that I have. As you can see, I got the Go, depending on what group or what color or whatever you want to call this. You can put RSS, music, etc. here. And then we have a switch, a left and a right. So basically these arrows down here are doing 2 things. Let me go ahead and talk about these arrows because that's the easy part. I didn't mean to exit out of that, but let me go back into KLWP. Let me go to the switches, and that's just going to be these 2 font icons that we have here. So this one here is the one right here on the right. I have it toggling 2 global switches. One of them is toggling that global switch, that list go, and basically it's going to go to the next value. So it's going to go from blue to green to red to yellow, blue to green to red to yellow. And you may notice that that's backwards versus what I have written up here, but it's going to be fine. So there's my list there, but you do have to pay attention to your order, so be careful with that. And I just have it going to next value. So that's that one. And now what's the other global switch? Well, I have this always setting that switch global. I have it always setting it to right. So if I touch this right arrow, it's always going to set that global to right. Whereas over here, you guessed it, this is going to do previous value. Let me go back to the font icon over here on the left. If I go over to its touch, you will notice that toggle global switch, we're going to previous values. This is what's going to go backwards, and then we're also going to, this is a way of letting KLWP know which button I'm pressing. I'm pressing the left arrow. And that is important when we go to code these animations. So that's the two codes I have there. This right here is just for point of reference to show you what group we're on and what current button I just pressed. Well, if I press left, again, watch this change to left, and it is changing the yellow because it's going to the previous value. Now if I press here, it's going to go right, and it's going to go right back to where it was. You see what I'm saying? Alright, so let's focus on the words first. Going up here to the top, we have blue, which is this word that you can see right here. You can adjust it however you want, and I'm just going to go straight to animation. There's just one animation for this, believe it or not, and it's scroll. So what you want to do here, underneath formula, you want this thing to animate whenever GVGO is not equal to blue. So you want it, when GVGO is not equal to blue, you want it to move forward, otherwise you want it to move back. Alright? Now I have it set to overshoot because maybe you did notice that when it kind of scrolls in, maybe you notice it does kind of overshoot and then it comes back, but you can adjust that to your liking, change the duration to whatever you want, but we do have to be careful with the angle here. This is where the codes come into play. Alright, let's think about what happens. Let me draw my phone screen over here. And suppose I have a blue, and then, okay, so let me go back. Okay, I haven't changed anything here, so I'm just going to go back out of here. Now, if I press this thing right here, it's going to change to green. And then if I press it again, it's going to go to red. And then it's going to go to yellow. Okay? So let me go back to this blue. So if I press that right arrow, when it's on blue, if I press that right arrow, a green's going to come in behind that. And then a red, and then, okay, I'm just going to use an orange for a yellow. Hopefully you can see the difference between those. So watch this, what happens. When I press this button, the blue's going to slide to the right, and here pops in green. So boom, it does something like this. Boom, this one goes off, this one comes in. Then when I press the right arrow again, notice, okay, the green goes off, and the red slides in. I press it again, the red slides off, and the yellow comes in, and it comes in that order. Now here's what's happening behind the scenes. When I press this thing again, you may be thinking all of these pieces are over here, but the way I have this thing coded down here, I have it coded to where it's going to fix that. Because right now, when I press this again, watch what happens. The blue comes in from this side. So it's like this blue has somehow, come back over here, and when the yellow slides off the screen, the blue's coming back as if it was over here the whole time. So here's how we do that, and this is the code that we want to apply. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to, let me see how I want to do this. Okay, I'm going to slide these back because it's like they always reset in this order, kind of, sort of. All right, now, if the switch becomes yellow, we want the scroll angle to be 180. So here's what I'm going to do here. This is actually how this first code works. I'm going to bring these back over here in the same order. And now, if the GVGO is equal to yellow, so what's going to happen here is that when I have two arrows down here, now when I press this button, what's going to happen? It's going to change this blue list, that list global variable go, it's going to change it from blue to yellow because I have it set up to do that, as I showed you a moment ago. So when I press this, I want the blue to go this way, which is considered 180 degrees. And then that's going to make the yellow slide in. All right? Now let's explore another option. Suppose I take, I don't want, let me delete that. Let me bring just this little arrow back here. So that's what that means. If GVGO is yellow, it's going to make the yellow come in once we look at the yellow in a moment, but it's going to make that blue slide 180 degrees because this animation right here is only really focused on this word blue. So let me come do this, that. Let me set this here, and this over here in that order. Now, what about if GVGO is green? So that what's going to happen here is if we press this button, what's going to happen is it's going to make the list global variable go from blue to green, and it's going to slide at an angle of 0 degrees. So when I press this button, it's going to change the list global variable to green, which makes the blue slide off at 0. This is 0 degrees. This is 180. 0, 180. So it's going to make the green slide in like that. All right. So I hope that makes sense there. And then that's what's making this happen. So let's explore that one more time. Remember, I said if we press this, it's going to change the list global variable to green, which is going to make, if GVGO is green, we want the blue to slide off at 0 degrees. So it should do this, and green should come flying in. And let's go back and explore that right now. But that's pressing the right arrow. So watch this. I'm pressing the right, it changes it to green, and as you can see, all the green stuff did slide in from the left, and it's sliding to the right. All right. Now remember, if we go back to blue, notice it's going the other way. You may say, how in the heck is it doing that? How in the world is it doing that? Well, let's explore that also in that same code. So now, let's see here. I've explained those two. Now, what about this next condition? So we got if GVGO is yellow, I explained that. If GVGO is green. Now, what about if green's up here and I want to get back to blue? So let's look at this condition right here. When we press not this button but this button here, that means everything should slide to the left. So I want this blue to animate back in when I press this left switch. So if GV switch is left, which I'm going to be pressing that, and GVGO becomes blue, because when I press this, it's going to slide everything to the left because this switch triggers left, and it's also going to trigger the previous value, which was blue. We want to slide it, bring it back in from 0 degrees. So that's what's going to have to happen here. When I press this button, this is going to slide off, and I want this to come back in. I want it to animate back in from 0 degrees. Remember, 0 degrees was this way. If I want it to come back from 0 degrees, it has to slide back in like that. As you can see, that's exactly what I have there. Now, what about if GV switch is equal to right? So let's explore this option. Boom. Let's see. Okay, that comes over here, over here. So that's when we're going to have a yellow. Watch this right here. So this is what's going to happen now. This is this last part of the code. If GV switches right, that means everything's going to slide to the right, so the yellow will slide off. I have to press this button. So the yellow is going to slide off. The blue is going to slide back in from an angle of 180 degrees because blue has to animate back because of this code here. I know this is crazy, but this is what works. If GVGO is not blue, we want it to animate forward. Otherwise, we want it to come back. So this is where we're telling it to come back, and we're telling it to come back from an angle of 180 degrees. Because again, let me explain this one more time. Hopefully this will make sense. If we press this button, that's going to make our list glow or switch. It's going to make it right, and it's going to trigger the blue. So GVGO becomes blue. Well, we want it to come back. Well, what angle do we want it to come back from? Because GVGO is now blue, we want it to come back from an angle of 180 degrees. Now, I'm not going to go through and talk about the yellow, the red, and the green. It's pretty much the same thing, except you have to pay attention to the order of these things, and you have to type the stuff in right. I'll show them to you real quick, but what you'll realize is that whatever color I'm on, like I'll go to, I think the next one's green. It don't matter what order you put these in KLWP, but you'll see that these two will be the same, and then the other two colors will be used up here, but they have to be used in the correct order. Order is very important. That's why I wrote this stuff down up here. So you may have to pause the video, read this code, but this code's going to be the same thing for all 4 of these. So I'll tell you what, let me take this, I'm going to copy all this, and I'm going to paste it over here just so we can refer back to it, and obviously it's going to make it freaking mile long. Let's see, can I, it's probably too small now. Alright, hopefully that's not too small and you can see that. I could always enter down a few spaces. Okay, I'll tell you what, that's what I'm going to do, just so you can see it. And right about there. What do you think? Alright. Get this junk out of the way. Make sure I still got it in the same order, even though I'm dragging these things around. And here we go. So watch if I go to a different color. You'll notice. Now remember, we were just in blue. Let's go back out of here and let's go to the next one, green. Alright, I'm going to go over to its animation. The same type of animation. Now remember to change your formula if GVGO is not equal to green, because we're in the green group. So I'm changing, basically you can copy that blue and just rename everything that you need to rename to green or whatever you're talking about, whether it be music, RSS, etc. So I've changed that down here, angle. Now look at this code. So notice a while ago when we were talking about animating the blue, see how these two were blue? Well, now these two are green because I'm talking about my green group. Now we have to talk about, the order of these things. Well, let's look at green, and we have to talk about which way we want green to go. So if GVGO becomes blue, well, since blue is over here on the right side of green, so I'll tell you what, how do I want to do this? Let's slide this, I'm going to bring it through. Notice I'm keeping my order. Boom. Okay, so suppose I press this button right here. I said I wasn't going to explain it, but I'm going to explain it anyway. But hopefully I want you to understand the idea. Behind, once I take these letters off this screen, you don't even see any of them. All we see is green. So as soon as I press this, it's going to slide green to the left, which is 180 degrees. So notice, and when we slide it, it's going to also trigger that GVGO, which now makes it become blue. So if GVGO is blue, I want to slide that green off at 180 degrees. Whereas if we press this button, that's going to make GVGO become red. Well, I want G, the green, to slide off to 0 degrees because that's what's going to make the red come in from this side. And then we have these other two conditions down here where if we have switch left and the go becomes green. So notice if I press the left switch right now, it's going to make the green come back. And we want that green to come back in from 0 degrees. So we're coming in from this side, and that's 0 degrees. Whereas if I'm on blue and I press this button, so which now the GV switch is going to be right, when I press that, boom, that's going to make also the GVGO become green, which means we're going to come back in from 180 degrees, and that's the last part of that code right there. So these codes are all the same for red, green, blue, and yellow, but hopefully you do see the pattern where I'm talking about order and how I'm trying to explain this 0 degrees, whether we're going out to 0 or we're coming back from 0 degrees, or whether we're going out to 180 or coming back from 180. And that's what you have to do here. You have to tell KLWP which button you're pressing to talk about what degree, whether you want to go 0 or 180. Now this also could be applied to like 90 degrees and 270 degrees as well if you want your stuff to have like a vertical scroll through it. But yeah, there's that part. That's tricky. I tried to break it down for you the best I can. There probably are other ways of doing this, but this is what has worked for me. So with that said, let's also come down here to our groups. Now I haven't even talked about this stuff yet. So we got a blue group, green group, red group, and a yellow group. And basically I have these things doing two animations. So I got just some plain old rectangle. I have an animation. Now let me show you the easy animation. Scale out. I just have it scaling out, and the code is if GVGO is not blue, I want it to scale out. Otherwise I want it to scale back in. So that's what's going to happen there. So when I press this button, it's not going to be blue anymore. Therefore, I want it to scale out. But I also having it do a scroll thing, or no, it's not a scroll, but it's a scale out horizontal. This is where the codes are coming back into play. I'm either doing module, okay, it's not module top right. It's just these things here. Sometimes it might not show exactly what you expect it to show down here in this code, especially when you're coding the anchor. That's what I'm coding in here. I'm not coding anything else. But check out this code. So am I in my blue group? Let me make sure. Yes, I'm in my blue group. So let me go back to my blue here. Again, no codes on scale out, but scale out horizontal, I am coding based on the anchor. Because I want it to either anchor out on this side or anchor on this side, depending on which way we're going. And it kind of follows the same idea as what we did a while ago. Notice GVGO yellow. We want it to slide out to 180. Well, I want it to be on the module left. So boom, 180 was, going this way. Well, module left will be, this way. Same idea. GVGO equals green. I want it to be module right. That's kind of matching up with the 0 degrees when we were scrolling. And now we have GVGO equals blue and GV switch equals left. We want module right. So we got GV switch equals left. GVGO equals blue. We want it to 0. Again, module right. This side, 0 degrees. This side. If you've messed around with the anchors, maybe you're starting to realize there's kind of a relationship between 0 and module right and 180 and module left, if that makes sense. All of these items, by the way, I should have mentioned this sooner, are just kind of centered right at the center of the screen. I think that can change your scroll angles, but should have mentioned that sooner, I guess. And then this last one here, so if GVGO is blue and the switch is right, so notice we got GV switch is right and GVGO is blue. Yeah, I have those reversed versus what I have down here, but it's still an and statement. So these two things have to be happening. We have to have switch being right and the GVGO has to be blue. So we got GVGO has to be blue and the switch has to be right. Module left, so that's over here. What degree is that? Back in scroll, that was 180. So really all we're honestly doing is taking this code, copy and paste it into here, and wherever you have 180 degrees, if you want an animation like what I'm getting here, change the 180 to module left, change your zeros to module right, and do this for, and also don't forget to come in here for all these formulas and make sure you change it for whatever color you don't want, or when GVGO is not equal to blue. Don't forget to change them all, because if we come back here to like the yellow group, if I go to its animation, again, the formula is when GVGO is not equal to yellow. But you have to come back in here and change these codes. So it's a little bit of watching a pattern, watching the order, and hopefully now realizing a relationship in this case, in this particular example, where 180 degrees, we're just replacing it with module left when we're talking about an anchor. And by us doing all this, again, we are obtaining this type of animation, where when I press this button here, what you just saw there is just something KLWP does. But now it's ready to rock and roll. So when I press this button, everything's going to slide right. So this will slide off to the right, and we have stuff coming over here from the left or from 180 degrees animating in, as you can see. There's our red. As you can see, everything is sliding to the right, and now here comes that blue again. Now I can go back to my yellow by doing this. I can go to my next one, which is red. You might say, oh, I want to go back to yellow. And notice as I press these buttons, it's going in the direction that I'm pressing. So that's what we were trying to achieve here. I hope the codes help. I hope you see the patterns. If you have any questions, leave a comment in the section below or make a request at idomath.weebly.com/KLWP. This will be added to my KLWP Toots on the Play Store. And that is it for this video. I hope it helped.